Denis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This question is to the Minister responsible for the Earthquake Commission. Is he satisfied with the progress of the Earthquake Commission in the settlement or disposition of all of the claims in respect of multi-unit dwellings arising from the Canterbury earthquakes, and if so, why?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, I thank the member for his question and recognise him as one of Parliament's foremost experts on multi-unit dwellings. Mr Speaker, EQC has worked through 21,000 dwellings in multi-unit buildings. Of these, 2/3 have been resolved, including 4,100 repaired under the Canterbury Home Repair Programme. For almost all of the remaining properties, EQC has a detailed, clear path to settlement. 72 of the most complex properties are being managed in conjunction with the insurers to determine the best way to repair entire buildings, where some claims are with insurers and some are with EQC. Mr Speaker, the problem has largely occurred through neglect of conveyances over years to recognise the importance of body corporate rules.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Denis O'Rourke.
Can the Minister tell us what proportion of all of the claims relating to multi-unit dwellings have been settled or completed?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, 2/3.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Denis O'Rourke.
Where the units of individual owners in multi-unit dwellings are assessed by EQC as being under the $100,000 cap, but the damage claimed is greater than this, and when the cost to repair the building as a whole may exceed the total of the EQC assessed damage for all individual units together, why in so many cases is the Commission resisting a realistic total sum for repairs?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, EQC is an insurance just like any other insurance. And when you get situations that would see damage on one side of a party wall under the cap, but damage on the other side of the wall over the cap, and recognition that in order to repair the undercap, you have to damage further over the cap, naturally there is going to have to be an unders and overs arrangement between EQC and all of the insurers. And in many cases, inside a single block of single multi-unit block, there will be multiple insurers. The member knows this. It's been explained to him many, many times.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question.
What does the Minister say to the people who are caught in the trap of an inadequate offer by EQC, where it insists that units are under cap, and who are then expected to pay tens of thousands of dollars to engineers and assessors to do the Commission's job for it, as well as pay lawyers' fees and other costs in order to get EQC to acknowledge its real liabilities?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, that is an interesting proposition to put to us, but I want to explain it to the member like this. Where there are a number of units all joined together but with separate letterboxes, there may be separate insurance bills going into each of those letterboxes, and there will therefore be separate contracts on each of those properties. Where EQC has a liability less than $100,000, those properties can go into the repair program, and 4,100 of them have done so far. So what the member is outlining is a situation that should not exist. If he's got details of those properties, let us know.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Denis O'Rourke.
What actions has the Minister taken to ensure that a rigorous quality control regime is in place so that the assessments relied upon by EQC are fair and realistic for multi-unit buildings?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, if they weren't fair and realistic, then they would be progressively handed back to EQC by the private insurers. Now, what the member is not fairly representing is that if you have, for example, Mr Speaker, a building with perhaps, as I know in one case in Christchurch, 43 units in that structure with 13 different insurers alongside EQC. Sometimes it's difficult to sort those things out, but I've got to say there is a cooperative atmosphere and we are getting through them. As I say, out of 21,000, two-thirds settled, and most of them with a clear path now, 72 difficult properties remaining with a lot of work going into them. I need to report to the House too that these dwellings were not even easily recognisable by the policies that they had. And that failing goes straight back to the lawyers who conveyed them inappropriately.
Order. Point of order, Denis.
Mr. Speaker, that's a very long answer, but doesn't even get close to answering the question.
Order.
Doesn't even get close.
The member can resume his seat. The question was also quite a long question and it's been addressed by the Minister. Does the member have a further supplementary?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. You didn't allow me to ask the substance of the point of order. How can you rule on it?
The member will be lucky to stay for the balance of the afternoon. The member raised the issue about whether the question had been addressed. I have concluded quite clearly that the question was addressed. I'm inviting the member, if he has a further supplementary, to ask it now. Otherwise, we will move
Supplementary.
on. Supplementary question, Denis O'Rourke.
Why was EQC not better prepared before the earthquakes so that the complex issues around multi-unit dwellings could be promptly and fairly dealt with when an earthquake such as that which devastated Christchurch occurs?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if EQC had had just one cover on a multi-dwelling property, that would be a fair proposition. But as the member knows, that as these properties have been conveyed from one owner to another over a period of years, body corporate rules have been ignored by the legal fraternity, multiple insurers have coverage, and therefore there are multiple EQC claims on a single property. That's exactly the problem that we're trying to work through. It's typical of a lawyer to just tell us what's wrong and forget about the fact that they were largely responsible for the problem.
Order. Supplementary question. Honourable Ruth Dyson.
Will he give a guarantee to the people of Canterbury that they won't be forced to accept a disputed cash settlement imposed so that EQC can meet his deadline that all claims will be resolved by the end of this year? And does he still stand by that deadline?
Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
There is every effort being made to reach settlement on claims. At the moment, the member knows that all claims under 15,000 are cash settled. People have an option where their claims are between 15 and 20 to go into the CHIRT program. But many people, with the encouragement of a lot of other leaders in the community, are going to private providers, and you see the ads in the paper almost every day. And for those people are choosing to cash out. But there is no one my information is that no one is being forced to accept the cash settlement.
Order. That concludes questions for oral answer. Honourable members, I have received a letter from David Shearer seeking to debate Understanding Order 386, the government's negotiations on diplomatic immunity for a person accused of assault with intent to commit rape. This is a particular case